Hello friends, welcome to another WSIB Truth Matters with Joe Machado. It's another beautiful Thursday afternoon. Oh man, I love this weather and it's supposed to be nice through the weekend. So I'm all good with that. Just going to do a quick video here. Don't want to keep you too long. I had one important question that came up. It's actually a very recent type of injury, so it may speak to some of you that have had a more recent injury. And then there's also another matter that I think is going to be of importance to some of you as well. So anyway, I'm going to get right into it. So this here is a question from a lady down in Windsor. And basically she says, I recently slipped at work and injured my right shoulder, which eventually required surgery to repair a torn rotator cuff. I was off work for about 4 months and then went back to work in a modified position. I continue to have problems with my shoulder, with pain, especially if I do anything with it. It gets really sore after a full 8-hour shift. I worry that my shoulder may not fully recover, and what will happen if my employer can't keep me in this temporary modified job. Can they fire me if I can't return to my regular job? Can you give me some idea as to what I can expect? Yes. So, well, first of all, sorry to hear about your shoulder injury, and I hope that you recover completely. I have seen many instances where workers had injured their shoulder, small tear, big tear of the rotator cuff, with surgical treatment and without surgical treatment. And I can say that for the better part, the majority will recover as close to prior to the injury as possible. But in some cases, it does leave the person with somewhat of a permanent impairment. The degree of that, it depends on each person and how significant the injury was and how successfully the surgery went. I know that physiotherapy is very important to help get more mobility. I know it's painful, but it really helps. Anyway, first thing is this. It is in your employer's best interest to keep you employed with them. I don't think that they're going to be making any decisions about that anytime soon. Because first of all, the WSIB has to rule on whether or not your shoulder injury has become or will become a permanent impairment. And if that is the case, that they determine after so much time, and that generally after you've had treatment, and some time has sort of lapsed to see how things are making out. If they do rule that you do have a permanent impairment, then they'll have you assessed for what's called a non-economic loss award. And it's basically a pain and suffering award. It's not a big monetary award. There's a special formula that they use to calculate how that's done. I'm not going to go through that now. It's just going to confuse you. But you can go to WSIBsettlements.com and you can learn all about it there, or with the WSIB, Non-Economic Loss Award. So if that happens to be the case, then the WSIB will, with your doctors, will look at what your restrictions are, your physical restrictions, and whether or not you're able to go back to your pre-injury job or you require modified job on a permanent basis. If you're able to go back to your pre-injury job at the same earnings, then that's great. It's a huge success story for you, everybody all around, your employer, everyone. If you're not able to go back to your pre-injury job, and it's feasible for your employer to keep you on a permanent basis on the modified job that you're doing now, that's also great because you're able to stay with your employer. They're going to save money in having to train somebody else, and they'll retain a good employee. So it's always good to do that. I think cooperation is the best policy so that you should cooperate as best you can in terms of what's being asked. Not that you put yourself in a situation where you're going to re-injure yourself or get worse. Never do that. Always talk to your doctors before you're asked to do something that causes you pain. So if that happens to be the case, it's all good. Now, if you do end up in that job on a permanent basis, the modified job, and if for some reason that job pays less than than what you were earning at your pre-injury job, then the WSIB will pay you a partial loss of earnings benefit. And essentially what it is, it's an amount that will compensate you from the difference between the earnings from your modified position and your escalated pre-accident earnings. So your earnings before your injury with the indexing factor for each year after your injury. Okay, now what happens if you're not able to go to your pre-accident job and your employer doesn't have a modified job on a permanent basis? Then the WSIB will do a labor market reentry assessment, or they'll provide some work reintegration services. They'll probably do a psychovocational assessment to look at what your skills are, your personal attributes, age, other physical impairments that you may have or may not have, skills, education, all of these things. And that will then yield some vocational or some suitable employment or business that would be suggested based on that profile. And the suitable employment or business is pretty much a job or a career that has been determined taking into consideration all of your attributes that the WSIB could then contemplate, because they don't always do it, supporting you in that career path. That may involve some retraining and some job search assistance and so on. So that program, the intent of the program is to help minimize any wage loss that you have as a result of your injury, and to help you move into a career path that is suitable. So in other words, within your physical restrictions and available out in the job, the workplace, or sorry, the job market. So they may come up with 2 or 3 different suitable employment or businesses that you might like. And then there's a plan that's put together, that's signed by you and the WSIB, and then off you go. Okay, so the WSIB does have good programs to help you. Sometimes they're not implemented in the best possible way, but I'm giving you, I guess, the best sort of scenario as to what you can expect down the road. And but you know what? In many cases, people have to go through the whole process. They get provided with work reintegration services, and they find a new career that they love, that they excel in. Sometimes it actually pays more, and it's amazing. Okay, so that's pretty much it. I hope I've answered all your questions as to what you may expect. And if you do have any further questions, then by all means, send me an email at joemachado@wsibsettlements.com and give me the specifics, your questions, and I'll reply to you as soon as I can. All right? Thanks for your question. Okay, friends. So another topic that I think is important for most people, and that they never know about this. When my firm was active, one of the first things that we did when we signed on a new client, we provided them with a package, and in that package was a travel reimbursement form. Now, the WSIB should be sending this to people automatically when they get injured. They don't. I don't remember speaking with the client, and they received that. So they have these beautiful things that are kept on a database that they're supposed to apply or help people with, and let them know about it. And it just sits there on the database, looking really good, but of completely no use, useless. Because it's useless if you don't put it in people's hands and let them know what it's for, and that they can actually claim for something with it. So sometimes people think about the whole issue of healthcare travel expenses, and they think, "Oh, I'll just take the bus, or it's in town, it's very close, and whatever, I'm not going to bother." But you know what? It can add up. If you You go for physiotherapy for 6 weeks, 8 weeks. You go to chiropractic treatment. You go to see your doctor. You go to specialists. All of these things add up. And if you're not getting paid, you're digging into your own pocket, and then hopefully get reimbursed. All right. So there's a form that the WSIB has. I'm going to put it up on the screen. It's called the Worker Health Care Travel Expense Form. Worker Health Care Travel Expense Form. That's a long name. It's very easy to fill it in. Basically, you just put your claim number, your address, then you fill in where you're going. There's a place for a stamp or a signature of the treatment facility that you went to, and whether you took public transit, how much it was, or a cab, or you drove, and what the mileage is. So it's very simple to complete that. It's up on the screen here, so if you can see it. And the WSIB always says that it's best to have approval for travel before you actually go ahead, because it may delay getting paid. Anyway, they want to nickel and dime you, that's fine. I don't think anybody goes to the doctor or physiotherapy just because they want to make $3 or $4 on the frickin' bus. It doesn't make any sense to me. But anyway, they'll try to kind of make you go through hoops. So if you want to do that, that's fine. Submit it every time that you have to go to the doctor for physiotherapy treatment, or get the form filled out each time that you go. If you need multiple forms, that's okay. You can download them right from the WSIB website and get them all filled out for the entire time that you go for physio or whatever the case may be, and then submit them all at once with all the information that's requested on the form, and then they'll send you a check. Okay, so I know it's something that may seem minor to a lot of people, but it makes a difference, especially when you're now having to dig into your pocket. You may not be paid on time. Financially, we're all pinching pennies, right? Everybody's trying to make sure that they're on budget, and I get it. When you're not being paid or your payments are delayed, everything becomes difficult because it starts to pile up. So use this. It's one less stressful thing for you, and then get paid for that so that you don't have to pay for it out of your own pocket. Alrighty? So a couple of really important matter that I'm going to be talking about on Monday. And I've talked extensively about the operations division and the whole hierarchy and how all of that works. And there's lots more I could talk about, but that'll be for a later video. But I'm going to talk about the appeals branch. I have absolutely no confidence whatsoever in the appeals branch. Zero, none. Okay? I operated my firm for almost 30 years, and my views on the appeals branch have never changed. I find it's useless. It's laden with conflict and serves, in my opinion, no useful purpose. In fact, it is detrimental to every appellant in many ways. And on Monday, I'm going to explain to you why. I'm going to give you facts and figures so that you can look at it and say, okay, now I get it. Now I understand where he's coming from. Because don't forget, I've been dealing with this day in and day out, all the time, for almost 30 years. I know how that shit works, inside out and backwards. Sometimes, in many cases, better than they do. I don't want to sound egotistic, but that's the bottom line. And that's why they decided they wanted to take me out. Okay? But I don't trust the appeal system at all. And as far as I'm concerned, if it was done with, gone, it would be more beneficial to every injured worker that ever has to launch an appeal with the Workplace Safety and Insurance Board. All right, friends, Monday. It's going to be an exciting one. Friends, as usual, please subscribe to my channel. It costs you nothing to be a subscriber. You get notified every time I come up with a new video. If you're part of our class action lawsuit, then automatically you're going to get notified of developments in the class action lawsuit. And it helps me build the channel. I want to reach as many injured workers as I possibly can, and I need your help to do that. Word of mouth, emails, share it, whatever you need to do, just help me to spread the word, because there's people out there who need that, who need this service, and I want to get to them. All right, friends. And if you like my content, give me a thumbs up. And if there's other things that you would want me to talk about, topics that may be more particular to your circumstances, let me know. Just on the comment section or send me an email and I'll work it into one of my videos. All right, friends? As always, take care and have a great evening.